Cole, what's up, dude? Point 4 seconds of leading in the last 80 minutes is inexcusable. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though with it, man, which is why it's so weird. Because I feel like if what they did tonight happened against Duke, you would have been fine. Like if you switched it, right? Flip flop it. And what they did tonight against Miami, they did against Duke. And then what they did against Duke, they do tonight against Miami. It probably isn't that big of a deal. I still think there was question marks and it wasn't great. And we're going to get into the game here in a second. But you can't. I get emotional letdowns happen all the time in college basketball. But tonight, dude, they did look tired. And I'll give them that. They did look extremely fatigued. They looked extremely hungover, not in the sense of, drinking or partying or alcohol or anything like that, but just more in the way of just like emotionally hungover, right? And I'm sure they were probably out partying and having the time of their life, as they should be after beating Duke in the way that they beat them. But you could just tell they look lackadaisical, they look lackluster. Miami's game plan was simple: bully the crap out of UNC, and they did it, and they did it well. Rachel says, "Man, we would have beaten the Hurricanes." Ford says UNC played terrible. Michael, Caleb Wilson's worst game as a heel. Yeah, and I wonder what's up with the injury. It didn't. I mean, it's on his non-shooting hand, which is always a good thing. But let's look at Caleb Wilson's stats. I haven't even dived deep in the stats, honestly, tonight. Caleb Wilson, 12 points on 4 of 10 shooting, 6 boards, no assists, 2 turnovers, 3 blocks, only 1 foul. Stevenson, 13 points. Vaysar went 11 points. The thing is the starting five was extremely inefficient. Caleb Wilson, 4 of 10. Jaren, 6 of 10, which is not bad. Henry at 5 of 12. Derek Dixon, 1 of 9 tonight. Seth Trimble, 0 for 5. All of his points coming from the free throw line in the second half. Cole says they're just a soft team, and that's Hubert's fault. I mean, that's, in essence, yeah, I think that is, and that's what makes the Duke game, honestly, even more confusing, that they won that game. But if you look at the Duke game defensively, they just constantly let Duke just get to the rim at will, and Miami did the same thing tonight. And the thing is, too, Miami made 3 3-pointers. That's it. So, again, when you look at this wasn't like a 3-point barrage. Carolina was 53% from the 3 in the first half, and they were still down 3. So they just got completely bullied in the paint. And if you look at points in the paint, Miami outscored Carolina 46-28. It's just unacceptable. With guys like Caleb Wilson and Henry Vaysar, it's just completely unacceptable to get bullied that badly by, in my opinion, any team in the country. But specifically, and not to take anything away from Miami, because I really like Jay Lucas. I spent time working with his dad's program, JL3 in Houston. Tons of respect for them. Jay is an amazing basketball coach. He's an amazing recruiter. He's going to do wonderful things at Miami. But the point of this is, Carolina's roster to Miami's roster, you can't be losing that basketball game. Michael says strange rotation from Hubert, and I do want to get into that because I think Zayden High played his most minutes tonight of any conference game this season, and he was at 7. And then Luka and Kyan Evans off the bench. If they're not catching and shooting threes, they're basically pointless to be out there. And I just think when you've hyped both of them to be what so many of the fans and so much of the media at the beginning of the season were hyping those guys up to be, for us to get to this deep in a conference play now, I mean, we played 24 games, and 2 of your highest paid, most pivotal transfers, you would so to speak, and the guy you got from overseas are only catch and shoot threats, and even then they only made 2 threes each. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And those guys can't do anything else on the basketball court. It is, and the bench was honestly a lot better tonight than the starters were from an efficiency standpoint. Carolina goes 25 for 63, shot 27 3-pointers. I don't get this team living and dying by the 3. I don't, especially when you have guys like Caleb and Herney. But get your guys' thoughts in. What are your things? What do you guys want to talk about? Zooneves, I haven't seen you here before, but you say I just need Luka to catch and shoot. That's it. I mean, that's all he can do. That's literally all he can do. Also, guys, please double tap that screen and hit follow. If you haven't yet, welcome to the Hoop Portal. This is a basketball channel for everybody. We are a little biased towards Carolina, but we cover all basketball here. But please double tap that screen. Get your comments in. What do you guys want to talk about? What are your thoughts on the game? And you know what, 718, you bring up a good point. 718 says letdown game, trap game, etc. Tough to follow up such a high like the Duke game. And I get that. But at the same time, guys, like this, what we saw tonight against Miami, if it happens at any other point, like after the SMU game, if it's after the Syracuse game, if it's 2 weeks from now after a Virginia Tech game, what they did against Miami is what we've seen out of Carolina all season long. It's an inability to stay aggressive for 40 minutes. It's an inability to play defense, giving up 43 points again in the first half. And the only difference between what this game was versus some of the SMU game, the Cal game, the Stanford game, is that you didn't have a guard go crazy, but you let the entire starting lineup of Miami basically get what they want. Miami starters: Malik Reneau, 16 points on 5 of 11. Shelton Henderson, 12 points on 5 of 14. Ernest Uday, 15 points on 7 of 8. Dante Allen, 9 points, 4 of 8. Trey Donaldson, 14 points on 6 of 16. And one made three-pointer by the starting 5 for Miami tonight. So they just obliterated you inside. And that is, and the problem is, that's also super frustrating. If you look at how this plays out from this point on, if you watch the film, if you're a team and you're about to go against Carolina, you are now picking, we talked about this before, a team like Duke, which I know Carolina just won, a team like Duke has a clear-cut what you have to attack, and that is their interior issue with only having Ngongba. And if he gets in foul trouble or Brown gets in foul trouble, they're really, if you take that away from them, they're a team you can get at. But that's the only thing you can attack them on. I think their guards are fine. They have shooters. SAR has come a long way. They play really good defense. A team like UConn, a lot harder to penetrate. A team like Michigan, a lot harder to penetrate. A team like Arizona, a lot harder to deal with. Now, these teams aren't perfect and will lose games. If you watch the film on Carolina right now, though, you can have a guard that goes crazy. You can attack them in the paint. You can get them out in transition because they don't really go deep. And I know tonight they played 10 guys, and I think that does go to the point of there probably was a ton of fatigue from that Duke game, because there's no other reason that you should get almost 10 minutes from Zayden High. Everybody else, Jaden Young, Powell, I understand that. Powell played 20 minutes tonight. He played just as much minutes as Derek Dixon tonight, who struggled. He did. He struggled tonight. Derek Dixon, 1 of 9, 0 of 6 from the three-point line. It's just a weird game right now, Carolina. Looking at some of these comments. Henry says Powell need to get more shots. Yeah, he only shot 4 times tonight, 2 of 4. I don't think Caleb's going to miss time. I think he's going to be fine. Carter says, what do you think went wrong tonight? I think they just got punked. I mean, it literally looked like men against boys. And it's not like Miami's a bad team, so I don't want to discredit Miami because they are a really good basketball team. Jay Lucas is a fantastic coach, and you saw there was a clear identity with that team. Be extremely physical on offense, be extremely physical on defense, and make Carolina try to out-tough you. And we haven't seen Carolina be able to do that. Cole says, big confidence factor for Luka and Kai and UNC right now is where confidence goes to die. Okay, I should say. Awful by Dixon, Caleb, and Vasar. Will, appreciate the follow. Cole, yeah, I was with JL3 and Drive Nation when I was in Texas. Sucks. RBF says, sucks for Wilson, but I'd be willing to have a pretty lackluster rest of the season to dump Hubert. I mean, it is an interesting thing where, I said this on our game reaction, like the video we actually posted on TikTok and YouTube. So check that out after this. But like the only thing this season is just consistent with what Hubert Davis has been over the last 5 years. And not specifically Hubert, let's just say the program has been over the last 5 years. You get a high moment like that with beating Duke. And then 72 hours later, you drop a game that pushes you to 7-4 in the ACC. And on a technicality, 7th in the conference. I'm not going to say 7th. We're going to say 6th for the sake of this because Louisville's played one more game and they won it. But a matter of fact, let's pull up this stuff so you guys can kind of see what's going on here in the standings. 1 second. I'm going to get this up for you guys. Blank. Add my source. Get your comments in. What did you guys see from tonight? Man, it's tough. It is tough. Travel says 5 years. What improvement have we shown in 5 years? Yeah, I mean, the thing with okay. All right, so if we look at these conferences, let's bring up the ACC. So here's where we sit right now. The problem with Carolina is that they've lost to Stanford, who's bottom half, and Cal, who is basically middle of the pack. They've lost to SMU, which is underneath them. it's weird because they have beaten Duke and Virginia. They've now lost to Miami, and it makes a massive game next week against NC State. And I said it on Saturday because I felt like, after they beat Duke, they were going to have room for error. But realistically, they don't have the room for error anymore. And actually, this is one thing. Where is my phone? There was this thing from, oh my goodness, where'd it go? So Joe Luinardi, who does the bracketology, this is what he put out today on Carolina, and I thought it was literally the perfect kind of synopsis of what it is. He says, quote, "Once again, North Carolina is riding the wave of being, well, North Carolina. A year ago, the Tar Heels were the last team selected into the field, despite the worst quad one record in the history of at-large bids, which was 1-11, if you guys remember. This season, they're knocking on the door of the top 10, just gained a coveted 4 seed, despite a profile that's at least a line or two worse than that, which would put them on the 5th or 6th. It isn't that UNC is a bad team or can't make a deep turning run. We simply don't often see a net ranking of 24 or a defensive efficiency of 48, which is now below 50 after this game, in the resume of someone who fits a top 4 seed. Most of the time, I think blind resumes ignore valuable context. In this North Carolina team's case, a little blindness couldn't hurt." And that's where we're at. If this team, right, and here's the stats from tonight so you guys can see it. If this team was not named North Carolina or was named, I don't know, let's just say Wake Forest, or they were named UCF, or they were named Kansas State, nobody would be talking about this team being a top 10 team and Final Four contender. They don't have it. They don't have the juice. We'll pull up Miami's stats there. They don't have the juice for that because they're way too inconsistent. Blue Tick says it is you either got the grit to figure it out or you don't. That guy is soft, not a baller. Not sure which guy he's talking about. Who you guys attacking, man? Travel says we used to be the number 1 rebounding team. I bet we aren't in the top 35. They're not. UNC in 6 major statistical categories on offense and defense are only top 30 in 2. Where's Uguay? Uguay says JP needs more shots and minutes. Him and Jaren seem like they were the only ones playing smart and hard. And I think that's a good point. And Uguay also says classic post Duke flop game. But again, though, Uguay, it's one thing if this wasn't what this team has been all year. We've seen this time and time again with this crew. We'll switch back. And so many people want to talk about, okay, we want to just chalk up the Syracuse game when Carolina was up 32 and then they dropped the 32 points to 7 points in literally the span of minutes, right? The SMU game, the Cal game, the Stanford game. That's 2 losses on their resume of teams that aren't in the tournament as it sits now. Now, maybe Stanford and Cal getting there, but it's not looking like that's going to end up happening. And the other thing, too, is I get the ACC is better this year than what they were last year and what they've been over previous years. The ACC is not a gauntlet. If you look at the Big 12 or the Big 10 or some of these other conferences, if Carolina was in those conferences, there was no way, to me, in my opinion, they finish above 500. And a lot of people want to come at me with the Kansas game, and I totally get that because that is their best win because Kansas is rocking right now. But if you've watched Kansas this season, that Kansas team today is not the team that we got to play at UNC in the opening week. They have gotten so much better, and even without Darren Peterson, they're an absolute problem. But they play hard, they play extremely physical, they play a lot like that Miami team with just more talent. And Jay Lucas is a good coach, so this isn't to diss him, but with a better coach, established guy like Bill Self. And so if we play Kansas right now, I would take Kansas to win, and potentially by double digits. 718 says, so development is a thing. Luka arrived 2 weeks before the season, adjusting to new. But I think Lucas has been there. No, Lucas has been there. He just didn't get cleared until that preseason night. I'm almost positive though that he's been with the program for a while. Travel says we played good against great teams and played crap against average or inconsistent team. Yeah, you're playing up and down to your competition. I think that's exactly what Carolina is. But even then, like that Virginia first half was horrible. Come back in the second. Great response by them. Will says Vasar is weak, man. He can't play D, gets back down, and is so inconsistent. Dude, when I went back and rewatched the Duke UNC game, there was 4 straight possessions that they literally just walked Vasar down and scored a bucket on him. Now, to his credit, he did come back and score, I think, 6 straight, and then he hit that 3 to bring the game within 3 late. But again, defensively, dude, he's getting punked and challenged constantly right now. Hubert says UNC has beat Kansas, Virginia, Duke, put up with You did not put up with Michigan State, dude. You got Carolina lost that game by 16. And what evidence this year do you? Because so many Carolina fans already know what Cooper's going to say next, right? Cooper's going to say, "Well, we didn't have Seth Trimble. All right, we didn't have if Seth Trimble played in that game, we would have won." What history from this season do we have that Seth Trimble is locking down any guards? Because guards have been going crazy against Carolina this season, and now at this point, you're seeing them just attack the bigs. Because Duke did it constantly. They pulled Henry out away from the basket, made him to defend on the perimeter, and it was just literally Duke just walked layup after layup after layup. Seth struggled today. Seth struggled today. He scored 4 points, all 4 points from the free throw line, and they were in the second half. G Stokes says guard play been bad all year. That can't rebound, defend on the inside. Team lacks hustle. But that's, again, G Stokes, that's what we're saying. There's so many issues, bro. It's not like there's one thing we could point of. It's just like, look, got to get it fixed by March and we're good. The defense is bad. The offense goes MIA. The three-point shooting is inconsistent. The guard play is bad. There's no bench rotation. There's no big depth. Like, it's insane to me that you have no bigs to back up Henry and Caleb. So I don't even want to press those guys and really be on them like that, because in essence, they're having to play with no rotation. And Jaren, who's had to come off the bench multiple games, I don't even know who the starting lineup was tonight. Let me see if I can find it. But Jaren is having to come off the bench and rotate the 4 and 5 for Henry and Caleb, when realistically that dude should be the 3. Hubert preached so much about the positional size. We have small guards who can defend. We spent $2 million on a guy like Kyan Evans. We have no big depth. Where was the $13 million spent? It's insane. Second round exit is what I'm thinking this year. Is that good enough? Hubert's not gonna get fired. That's why I'm not even going. Honestly, like, and I've done videos on should Hubert stay and should Hubert go. I'm on the side of the fence that he should be gone. But it's not even worth the conversation, because he's not gonna be fired. The school is not going to fire him, because they're gonna look at the record. Even if they lose in the first round, they're not gonna get rid of him. So exactly, as long as he beat Duke, he split with Duke. So to a lot of the fan base, that's good enough. You split with Duke, we don't really care now. And it's become a joke. Cooper, Hubert, who brought the players in? Cooper, you cannot. Oh my God, bro! People just he's rage baiting me. I'm not even gonna get into it. A coach who brought the players in, it's his fault. Cooper, it's your job as the coach to find the guys that fit this. The crazy thing about this, though, with what this is with Hubert Davis, as far as that piece goes, this is not the first group of players we've had at UNC that have been this. We have seen it with multiple different groups. The only common denominator is who Hubert Davis is recruiting. That is the common denominator. Caleb Wilson, this whole roster, besides Seth Trimble, of guys that play, take out Zayden Hyde, take out James Brown, and he's hurt anyway. Luka, Derek Dixon, Kyan Evans, Jonathan Powell, Jaren Stevenson, Henry Vasar, Caleb Wilson, Jaden Young. They're all first-year players at Carolina. So if they're all first-year players at Carolina, why has this happened for multiple seasons now? Why have we seen this team get up big and then blow it? Why have we seen this team go down 20 and then cut it close but still end up losing? It's the same story, bro, over and over and over and over and over and over again. Let's see. Let's get into some of these comments. Cooper says, look what happened with RJ Armando, Leaky, Cormac. Yeah, okay, and that's a good point, though. So if you did it once and you found the formula to what works, why have you not gone back and done that again? And that's the thing. You can point to one group that was good. And even then, Cooper, that group as a 1 seed lost in what? The first round of the ACC tournament, NC State. Now, credit to the Wolfpack because they went on that crazy run and they'd beat Duke and Virginia after that. But then you get upset by Alabama in the Sweet 16. You were a 1 seed that still lost to a 4 seed. And this is the point that we go with Hubert. Every time he's done something good or the program's done something good, there has honestly, in my opinion, been a catastrophe. The first year was not great. They go on this crazy run. They get to the national championship game. They blow the biggest lead in national championship history. Okay, you get this, team to national championship, and then you blow the biggest lead ever. Year 2, number 1 preseason ranking, missed tournament. Year 3, win the ACC, get a number 1 seed, lose in the Sweet 16 because you're out coached by Nate Oates. Year 4. Realistically, you missed the tournament last year. We all 1-11 in quad 1 games. We just read the thing out from bracketology. It's the worst record ever in a quad 1 to get an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament history. They got in because they're Carolina, and they get a first-round exit. And then this year's team, again, it's just up and down. Let's see. Without Baycott, we know that he cared for us. Blue Tick, appreciate the follow. Cooper, you're not going to dominate March Madness, bro. You know what? You know what, Cooper? I'm glad you brought that up. Where is this? Because I just pulled this up. All right, here we go. Since Hubert Davis has taken over North Carolina, there are 12 teams with more wins in the tournament than UNC. Every blue blood is in front of them. UConn's there, Duke's there, Kansas is there, and then UCLA technically counts as a blue blood, although they're not mine. UNC has one more win in March in the 2020s than Miami. One more win than San Diego State. That's what Carolina does in March. So go ahead. Go ahead, dude. Go ahead. Since that's your domination in March, bro. One game better than Miami and one game better than San Diego State. Good for you, dude. You get done in on here, bro. This ain't your mommy's podcast, brother. Justin said they actually called fouls on Carolina tonight. Yeah, it did flip. It was a major flip. Let's see what else is here. Kevin Hunter says Rep couldn't help UNC this game. One foul, whole half is ridiculous. Gotta be a Duke guy. G-Soak says, I'm confused why Dennis hasn't gotten any run. He's going straight to the portal. I think there's multiple guys on this team that are going to hit the portal. And I would be worried about that because a guy like Jonathan Powell is someone who's a sophomore who could develop and be really good over the next 2 years. But if he's going to continue to lose burn to guys like Luka and Kai and Evans, he's not going to stay. Alvin says it's proven this year that no matter how much money you spend, you can still be bad. Look at Kentucky. It's a good point, but Kentucky is second or third in the SEC now. I don't know how they flipped their season, though, because they were horrible early on. But again, it's good to have money. You just gotta spend it on the right people. Blue Tick says they left their energy on Franklin Street. Yeah, but I guess the bedazzled belt never made it out of RDU, bro. Luka needs to know his place. What good has Hubert done? Nah, if you spend enough, you will win always. Miles says, you storm the court one game and get court stormed the next. Did they storm the court? I honestly turned it off. You shouldn't, I don't know, dude. I get you beat Duke and it was a buzzer beater. I don't love being a blue blood or supposed to be the blue blood and storming the court. It's like Kansas last night. I don't think Kansas stormed the court when they beat the number 1 team in the country. Blue Tech, second round exit is what I'm thinking this year. Is that good? Oh, we did that one. Yeah, it brings up. Let's do that. This will be our final thing. We're gonna pull up UNC's. Let's look at the remainder of their schedule, and then no, I want UNC schedule. I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate you guys being here. A good. Please double tap that screen, hit follow. It's your first time here with us. We're about to pull up UNC schedule. I'll switch over for you guys. Let's look at this. Yeah, Jonas, I am, dude. Because honestly, bro, I don't feel good. And I was really hopeful that tonight was going to be a chill night. They were just going to win and be done with this crap. And they've absolutely done my head in. All right. So let's look at this. From this point on, they're 7-4 right now in the ACC, which puts them 7th in the conference. They got Pitt on Saturday, which for whatever reason, Pitt is always a problem for North Carolina. They've got at NC State on a Tuesday night, and that game and that place is going to be absolutely juiced and revved up. We got at Syracuse on Saturday, which the end of that Syracuse game was dicey, and it was one of the most ridiculous things I've seen that team do all season. I do like them to win that game. Louisville, though, Mikael Brown's looking like he's starting to find his bag again. He had 45 points last night against NC State. You got Virginia Tech at home. You got Clemson at home, and then you end the season at Duke. I think realistically in that stretch, with what this team is, I honestly think you can only afford one more loss. I mean, losing 6 games in the ACC this year will put you definitely outside the top 5. I mean, they're not going to get the double bye. And if you lose that game to NC State, honest to God, this is where we're at. If you lose that game to NC State, that is, I think, when you hit absolute disaster mode. Because if you let the Wolfpack and Will Wade in year one beat you and finish higher than you in the ACC, it's an absolute embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. And I got wrenched when I did my ACC predictions and I put NC State in the top 5. And now look, they did get absolutely worked last night against Louisville, though. LJ says they got ahead of themselves thinking we're one of the best. We beat Duke, so this game should be easy. But LJ, bro, this is what they've been all year. They're not a good basketball team. They're not a good basketball. And I went back and was watching some of the other Duke UNC games. That is such a unique game. If we're having an honest opinion, that is such a unique game because we've seen. You guys remember 2019 Carolina when they played a game against Duke, who was top 5. UNC was bounced by Syracuse by 30 in the ACC tournament that year. That was COVID, 2019 to 20. That was a Cole Anthony group. That was Andrew Playtech and Justin Pierce playing, and they took that Duke team to overtime. So you've seen bad teams, Duke and Carolina, give the other one even when they're at their peak or top 5 or top 10, whatever, and you've seen them giving a game. And so that's where it's just like they beat Duke fantastic. The Virginia game to me is really the bigger one in the sense of that it wasn't that rivalry game. It was an absolute must win, I think, especially now if you're dropping to Miami. But the Duke game is always weird. But this team that we saw tonight is what we saw at the end of the Syracuse game. It's the team we saw against Wake Forest. It's the team we saw against Ohio State. Ohio State is like 11th in the Big Ten right now. And at this point too, bro, it's just frustrating. It's so hard. And I get some people want to make the excuse, bro. It's just emotional letdown after Duke. You can't, bro. What? It's just you're supposed to be. This is the final point. You're supposed to be North Carolina. You're supposed to be the bluest of blue bloods. There's not supposed to be excuses left and right. There's not supposed to be. I'm not gonna even bring that one into it. You're supposed to set the standard. Now, I got into it with someone on here saying, well, no team is good every single year. Here's my thing when I look at this. Teams that compete for a Final Four every season. You have, in my opinion, if you can be a 1 seed, a 2 seed, or in the Final Four, right? Or, I'm sorry, not in the Final Four, in the Elite 8. A 1 seed, a 2 seed, or in the Elite 8. That is you competing for a Final Four. Teams since 2020, since COVID, Houston has done it every single year. Duke has done it 4 out of 5 times. Alabama's done it 4 out of 5 times. And I think Gonzaga's done it 4 out of 5 times. So it is possible to have programs built that are consistently a 1 seed, a 2 seed, or getting to that final day before the Final Four in March. So again, it's what's the standard at UNC now? Is it are we okay being better than an 11 seed last year? Cool. That's the standard? Just make the tournament? Or is it, guys, we are supposed to contend to put banners up year after year after year, whether it's ACC banners, ACC conference tournaments, Final Fours, national championships. It's frustrating, bro. It's frustrating. And the fact that there's an 11 next to their name as they're supposed to be a top 10 team in the country. Bro, what? Well, I mean, what? Based off of what? They're 25th in the net. All right. Finally, let's get into some of these comments. Let's see, and then we'll get out of here. Little Murph, who should beat Duke by at least 5 or not more? What's UNC in the new poll? Bro, honestly, they'll probably move up off some weird stuff. They'll beat Pitt, and then the committee, everybody in the media will be like, look how good Hubert Davis, they responded. They showed grit and determination by getting back on the horse and beating Pitt at home, a bottom tier team in the ACC. Let's move them up to 8th. That's a Final Four team in North Carolina. This team has been so inconsistent the last 5 years. Yep. I don't even get that. I don't get that one at all. Jonas says, team we saw on Cali trip. 2H, I don't know your handle. 2 hands. No, I almost got me on that one. 2 words, Hubert Davis. EJ, what's up, dude? He says, Carolina's second weekend team, bro, Sweet 16. That's the ceiling, in my opinion. That's if they get the right matchup. But if they keep dropping, dude, it's really important for them to get to that 5 line. because the 4 or 5 flip, honestly, it doesn't even matter that much. The difference really is the 6 seed. That is where it really starts dropping. If you can manage a 5 seed, that's fine, and it is still on the board for them. But if you drop to 6 and you're going to play a 3 seed versus because the 4 and 5 are just going to play each other anyway, most likely. G Soak says SCG, they have the highest highs and lowest lows. Yeah, this one, it's not good. UNC offensive pace this season is in the bottom half of Division One, ranking around 156 nationally. EJ says Travel's talking crazy. I see maybe 2 wins, maybe out that. No, they'll get more than 2 wins than that. They'll be all right. The game, to me now, the game at this point is NC State game. They can't lose that game. They cannot. Oh my God, bro. Cooper is never going to return to this channel because he said he's going to be back when Carolina is in the Final Four. So we will see Cooper in the future. He will not be here for the remainder of this season. I can tell you that right now. I will bet you any amount of money this Carolina team is not in the Final Four. If there's 60 other teams able to play in the tournament, they won't make it. If you tell me everybody has to go home and they're the only team left, then sure, they'll get to the Final Four. So Elliott tearing it up at Michigan, Tyson at Minnesota makes it feel like UNC just can't develop. We know they can't develop players. They have no history of developing guys under Hubert. We'll see what happens with Pitt. Anyways, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. We're gonna get out of here. Again, please double tap that screen, hit follow to enter your name in the portal. We will start doing live shows every single Sunday night at 10 p.m. We're gonna do a late night Sunday, actually 9 p.m. 9 p.m. to 10. So stay tuned for that. Game reactions, ton of college basketball content. We'll go all the way through NBA season once March Madness is over. So stay tuned. Stay involved. We'll see you guys. Go Heels. Yep. I hear you, two hands. Go Heels. Later, guys.